Good morning, everyone. Wherever you're from, whether you're a longtime parishioner in one of our three churches, whether you're here for the first time or the first time in a long time, please know that this Mass would not be the same without you. This 4th of July was so different from other years. There were no parades, there were no fireworks, none of the usual celebratory fanfare. Let's be honest, it's hard. But it's also a good time for us to reflect upon our love for our country, our equality, the freedom we have to practice our religion, and the ability we have to come together for worship, even online. The second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence says this: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." It's the foundation of our life as faithful citizens, endowed by our Creator, namely God, united in dignity. Our nation may not be perfect, but God is perfect, and He made us for happiness. While our ultimate destiny lies in eternity, our emotions can be swept up by the tumultuous and uncertain times which are the nature of this present moment. Perhaps you're consumed with frustration or fear, or with a restless desire for comfort. This eventually leaves us feeling empty, and that happiness is elusive. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest." Our burdens are not always easy, but Jesus invites us to bring our burdens to Him. Then He says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me." In biblical times, a yoke was a curved wooden beam which was laid across the back of the neck and the shoulders so that one could lift a heavy burden. Also, though, yokes were used as a metaphor for religious instruction, because, for instance, when one studied the Torah, he would take upon himself the burden of following the commandments. Perhaps for us, Jesus uses this metaphor to tell us something about Him, to tell us something about following Him as a disciple. "For my yoke is easy and my burden light." Discipleship is not an effortless practice, but neither is it an exhausting burden. When we take on Jesus' yoke, we turn over our doubts, our struggles, our fears, and our brokenness. And we begin to look beyond the temporary pleasures of this world to lasting fulfillment. We believe that the path to a better life is through Jesus Christ. Or, to use the language of the Declaration of Independence, it's our pursuit of happiness. Jesus lays out the path to happiness in the Beatitudes, which we find in the Sermon on the Mount. The Beatitudes are the promises of happiness made by Christ to those who accept His teaching and follow His example. They require discipline of heart, of mind, and of actions. These are the Beatitudes. "Blessed are the poor in spirit, the meek, the mourning, those who hunger for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers, and the persecuted." They are the different demands of conduct and the mindset of disciples, but each of them comes with a promise of happiness. Blessed are you, from the Latin word beata, which means happy. Happy are you. The longer we walk with Jesus, the more we should begin to know that he has a plan for our happiness. The first time this clicked for me was when I was in high school. I remember I was wandering through a bookstore, back when people used to go to bookstores, and I was flipping through books in the religion section, and I found a copy of the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It looked official, so I bought it, and I would just pick up pages at random and read different paragraphs. And as I would do that, I began to become convinced that every teaching that was in there came from God, and it was there so that we could flourish more fully in this life and then live forever in the next. Seeking the comforts and the riches of this world as an end in themselves and as a source of meaning do not lead us to happiness or new life. The challenge, however, of the Beatitudes is in their fullness. None of us can be peacemakers until we learn to be merciful. None of us can grow spiritually until we admit that we are poor in spirit. The Beatitudes have the ability to transform us. It's easy for us to complain about our country and its leaders. But our country will never be better than we are as individuals. So, here's the challenge for this week. Sit down with the list of the Beatitudes and ask yourself, which Beatitude is least natural for me? Then, work on transforming your outlook in relation to it. Then, you and our country will be better and happier.